how to avoid pain in your daily practice. I get this question so often recently, and many people have problems when they practice the piano with pain in their arms and hands. And in this video I want to cover how to avoid it in the first place. I've made another video, you can check it out here, on how to deal with pain if you have it already. But in this video we'll talk about more how we can avoid it in the first place. My name is Aaron Pilsan, I'm an international concert pianist, and as you can see I'm here in New York City with the skyline behind my back. So I'm traveling a lot around the world playing the piano. So I have a lot of experience when it comes to daily practice and what you should consider in order to avoid pain. The first thing that is super important is that you do enough practice breaks. Right? So you probably have these moments where you're completely in the flow, where you practice for hours and hours, but that's not so good. You should always have breaks. I would always recommend practice times of like 45 minutes combined with breaks of 15 minutes. That's very important, and that you really do these breaks regularly. Otherwise, your body doesn't have enough time to recover if you have something exhausting. You can compare it a little bit to sports. Today in New York we have the New York City Marathon, but also as an artist on the piano, you are moving with your body a lot, and your fingers and arms and shoulders have to do a lot of work. So you should treat yourself like an athlete as well, not just an artist, but also an athlete. That means that you have to do a warm-up, you have to do a few stretching exercises that I show also in my mentoring programs. But it's really important that you warm up like you would for a workout. If you are working out regularly, you're familiar with that. If not, probably not, but you can read a few articles on how to properly warm up for your sessions. That it's very important. And the same is true for cooling down. After you finish your daily practice, you should also do 2 or 3 little cool down exercises. That's very crucial, in order to protect yourself against pain. And as I've said, these short breaks are really, really important. You can also switch to mental practice. If you've already spent some hours every day on the piano, then you're getting tired physically, but your brain might still be working. So you can turn to mental practice. How that works, I cover in another video as well. That's something you should learn as well. And as I've said, doing these breaks, maybe 45 minutes of actual practice, 15 minutes of breaks, and the brain will also continue learning during a break. So the break is not just good for your muscles, but also for your overall development and learning process. So that's the first thing you have to consider here. The second is about your general technique. You have to really relax properly between the notes, because the problem with the piano is that it's a very unmusical instrument. So you can play a chord, but after you've played the chord you cannot influence the notes anymore. So you have to do everything with your imagination and imagine that you can sing a note or hold it, but physically there is no need to press down after you've pressed the chord, because that's just a waste of energy. So you have to learn to relax properly. That can be done also with specific exercises, which I work out with you in case you want to work with me, but you can also practice that on your own when you're practicing on a daily basis, that you actually work that out on your instrument yourself, just feeling how does it feel, when can I relax, when can I tense, because sometimes you need tension obviously if you want to play properly. So there are many things that you have to consider, the right amount of tension and release, and that will also help you to avoid pain in the first place. The third thing that is really important is that you actually do what you love. It's a very common phrase, to do what you love, but it's proven also that we tend to get less problems if we practice what we like. That means to first of all practice the pieces you like, but also that you like what you do while you practice, right? So of course it's important to do your etudes, of course it's important to do scales at some level, not for everybody by the way. But if you don't enjoy that process of practicing, then you'll have problems also with your muscles at some point. So it's very, very important that you do actually enjoy it, and that will also prevent you from developing chronic pain. And what is also important is that you stop right away if you really feel too tired. It's really much better, and believe me, I know many stories, and I've also had some experiences with pain, not too many, but check out the other video if you haven't seen it yet. But it's really much better to just stop a little earlier, pick it up the next day or 2 days later, even take rests for whole days, sometimes take a week off, and then focus again at new and just switch to mental practice. So if you have any signs of pain, you should really stop right away. That being said, there are many things you can do to cure your pain, something I've talked into the other video, but really, please stop early enough. It's really not worth it putting any force into your playing, really not worth it at all. Especially if you develop chronic problems, that's really a pain in the ass. So please stop right away if you have problems. I cannot say this often enough. Then of course, I've had questions from many people who learn on their own, only with YouTube tutorials or only with apps, etc. That's okay for the start. The problem with that is, first, it's not individual, so they cannot give you feedback on your playing. The input might be good, but if you want to develop after a certain level, you need a coach or teacher to look over your shoulders, to look exactly what you're doing, if you are using the right muscles, if you do it the right way, if your practice strategy is the best for you. Because if you do that wrong, you might end up having pain even though you think you do everything right. So often in the beginning it feels you're on the right path, only that you discover months or years later that you have had actually wrong practicing routines, and then it's too late. Then it takes much longer to recover, and it takes much longer to get it right. So do that really right in the beginning, that you really take feedback, that you really get feedback, get qualified feedback. And I would advise you to take feedback of people who can play the way you want to play, or if they cannot do that, who at least have produced students who can play the way you want to play. That's really important, because that shows you that the feedback is qualified. Otherwise, you might end up in the wrong pathway, and you will also might get problems with pain. I have also seen teachers who told students the wrong things, and then the students developed chronic tendinitis, for example. And it was not just one student, but several students. So obviously the technical advice was just wrong, and they didn't realize it at the time where they were practicing. It just turned out way later that they had been following the wrong advice. So look who you're learning from, and of course it's no secret that I promote my own courses here, but I always do a first free lesson. So if you want to learn with me together what the best strategy is for your practice, if you want to learn the right technique, and if you want to learn the right way of practicing versus breaks, then just sign up for this free lesson, and we will find out together if and how I can help you exactly. There are no strings attached, so fill out the form at aaronpearson.com/academy, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you soon. Tonight, actually, I'm also going to have dinner with one of my mentees, so I often meet them personally. If that's what you want to do, just apply for a first lesson, and we see each other very soon. Take care.